We're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony. You're watching us live on Facebook and YouTube, and we are now also live on Twitter. So, welcome, friends from Twitter. We have a good variety of movies to talk about today. Make sure you check out our website, hollywoodmatrimony.com. Go like, share, follow, send hearts, send bubbles, send stars, whatever. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, not LinkedIn. Why do I keep saying LinkedIn? It came up today in a conversation. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. LinkedIn. And so now I said LinkedIn. We're not on LinkedIn because that's a professional website.
I mean, I'm on LinkedIn.
I know, but not for the movies. So, anyways, welcome. Mwah, mwah. There you go. I got to go tell my friends to come watch us.
They're not. They don't support
I know they're haters, but
that's one of the things that it's super frustrating with doing these kind of things. That I really and I know I'm guilty of it just like everybody else, but it's funny how usually your closest friends are the people that don't support half the crap you do.
Haters.
And it's not. I don't think it's on purpose. It's just as funny as like
they're taking us for granted.
Another friend of mine posted he had sold. He put a book he wrote on Amazon.
Cool.
And he was pretty bummed out that it had sold like 4 copies. And nobody had shared it, and nobody had said anything.
Oh, I didn't know. Can we like it? Can we go share?
Well, I've shared it on my page. So
I didn't see it.
But I missed when he posted it. But I saw his post about, I don't know why I'm even bothering writing.
Don't stop though.
So I commented about, I self-published my own comic. And I said, I feel your pain, man. I said, I do this comic, and it only sold a handful of issues outside of the conventions. And, and they weren't necessarily just friends. They were, some randoms.
Yeah.
And even with the website, with this stuff, we have a select group of people that have always supported us. I'm not talking to you if you're one of them.
Thank you.
But there's some of your closest people, never share it, never read it, never click it. Like my own kids, like, hey, did you see such and such movie? Man, go to look at the website. I don't do that.
Well,
that's usually the excuse. So, like, especially during 2020, I've tried to make a big conscious effort. Like people that I'm actually friends with, like outside of this internet space, I try to make a point. So like the Fork in the Road restaurant, we share a lot. House. I try to. That's why I share them. These are the stuff I share are people I know personally. I don't share a lot of stuff that I don't know personally because I don't know who they are sometimes, what they're about. But we all have to be better people, ourselves included, of trying to help promote. Because the only way anybody gets any kind of help or any things is if you support them. And you can't expect somebody to support you if you don't support them.
Not being supported.
That's why I've never made a big stink about why would you follow this if I haven't been sharing it too.
Yeah.
And if you can't buy something like the guy's book, I couldn't buy it at the moment, but I could write a post and share it out there.
Correct.
So I made a point to go back, post, hey, check out my buddy's book, buy it. That's all you can do sometimes. Anyway, sorry.
There you go.
That just gets me thinking about, trying to share the site. And I also sometimes feel like I'm bothering people. Hey, everybody go look at our site,
Yeah.
Go follow our site, please. You feel like you're either begging or like you're bothering people. Like clearly if they wanted to.
Yeah, but they should just do it if you're friends.
Agree.
Haters. Anyways, let's talk about movies. Enough of that. I'm excited right now because this is the first time we're live on Twitter. So very exciting times right now.
All right. Exciting to see how many people don't watch.
And that's okay. I already liked it. I need to go.
We do all this for the fun of it, not for any kind of money or
I'm retweeting
anything else. So if they were tired of doing this, it'll just stop.
Yeah, who cares?
And our life won't change whatsoever.
Yeah, we'll still do the same thing. Okay, so I plan to just do the movies in the order I have them listed. So let's just go for it. All right. This first movie is available now on Netflix, so you can go watch it after today's show. And this is Running with the Devil. This is the documentary about John McAfee.
They called like The Wild Life.
The Wild Life of John McAfee.
And who is John McAfee?
He's the guy that created the McAfee antivirus software.
You mean the one that all of us use?
Correct. And
he sold the company for like $7 billion.
And he was also using it to spy on people, like the government.
Now, before we dive into the movie, for those of you now freaking out about McAfee virus software, and be like, oh my God, he doesn't own it anymore. He's not using it anymore. So it's not connected to him anymore. So have no fear.
Anyway, he created his own thing to hack people. So first of all, He worked for NASA.
He started at NASA before he founded.
So
the McAfee
he's
software.
extremely intelligent. He did also create a way to spy on governments, the FBI, the CIA. I mean,
So he says.
Supposedly.
I still don't think it's ever been proven because they said that none of that stuff's ever been released.
This is what he says, but that the government was after him, the IRS was after him, they were all after him, so he goes on the run, and that's what this is about.
It's interesting. This is almost like a war documentary because of these two guys that had done war documentaries, or at least a photographer had.
Yeah.
And they got kind of an exclusive to just kind of go with him. They're not interviewing him. It's not that kind of documentary. It's just to kind of follow his life and what's going on right now. And so there's very rarely them asking him any questions. It's really just his ramblings, following him. And then essentially they're on the run with him.
Yep.
And his on run, it's like most of the movie is just shots of him rambling about stuff. He's suddenly running. Hey, we got to go there. We just got to get a phone call and saying, okay, we got 9 minutes to get out of this hotel and packing up and taking off.
Yeah,
suddenly being on a boat.
They're coming to arrest me now. Let's go.
Yeah, it's intense, but not because I'm sure if you were there, it was more intense, obviously. But it's an interesting. It's kind of gritty. It's kind of dirty. It's all over the place at times.
He's insane.
Yeah, it's literally just the life and times of a crazy person.
Correct. And I don't know if some of it was true. I mean, sure, some of it had to have been based on some
there were
sort of
clearly
truth.
like actual IRS and police officers and stuff that wanted to arrest him.
I know, but
we don't know the extent of his.
I think in his head.
Yeah, he was on drugs and alcohol.
He was a lot of drug usage. He was on bath salts, you guys, which we know makes people crazy zombie eaters.
Well, this documentary is really the initial. This isn't about anything about the McAfee software. It's that's a second thought. It's just like, this is who he is, moving on. This is really about him fleeing Belize initially because of his neighbor's murder.
Correct.
That he's accused of. Correct. And so now he's on the run from Belize to Guatemala, from Guatemala to, I don't remember where else.
He ended up in U.S.
Yeah, back to Miami.
Then he went to the U.K., then he ended up back somewhere else. I don't even know.
It's bouncing around, and the people that have dealt with him in his life, he had like 2 different ladies that he was with, and it's just it's a crazy man.
It's a crazy thing, and then at the end, it kind of leaves you hanging where you really don't even know what's real and what's not.
Yeah,
and where he may be.
And what's interesting is how it's connected, because the initial 2 guys, the photographer and the writer, reporter, whatever you want to call him, that are following him and working on him with him, get separated from him, and they're kind of off the case, if you will. And a different guy has brought in, totally not related to this, helping him write a book or something, right?
Yes.
So then the photographer guy is brought back in later for a whole different thing. So the whole story comes together from essentially 2 to 3 different perspectives, telling the same story.
Yes, and then it's interesting because after the fact, one guy that had been talking to him sees footage later, and he's like, oh, that explains what he's talking about. So he might have just thought it was ramblings of a crazy person, but then when he sees the actual footage of what was happening, he's like, oh, then this might have been true.
And there's even a moment where he's playing some of his recorded audio footage that he has, and McAfee says something that he didn't ever remember him saying. He goes, oh, I didn't even remember him saying that about his own father and stuff. And and he even has a moment where he's like, hey, when y'all are editing this, can you make sure to show this? Because there's talks about the cartels and stuff. And he's like, can you make sure that I'm basically saying these are the things he says? I'm not saying anything about the cartel because I really don't want to be killed.
Yeah. It's insane, guys. This is the craziest documentary I've ever seen. And
it's almost as crazy as that neighbor next door person. That's still the craziest story I've ever heard.
The guy that was in the relationship with everyone,
with everybody in that family.
Lord have mercy. I need to go watch. I never watched it because it was too insane for me. It just sounded.
But this is crazy because there's so much of him. This isn't the kind of story it's stock footage from other people. It's like, this is from the people that were there and explain it in the fear of their own lives, not knowing what's true, what's not true, the mysterious nature, the craziness of how he got out of stuff and how he kept doing this and how he kept getting away with it. And his political run for president, and
It's just,
it was just so many different things. It's insane that the guy, one, lasted as long as he did,
yep.
and two, that he was never really. I mean, if you know the story of him, he was kind of finally arrested and getting ready for trial, but for all the things that he was supposedly linked to, that nothing was ever linked to him, really. You know,
No.
or he was never, remember that, he was never caught or arrested for any of
He
these
was
things.
doing your mom saying, "Don't get caught." That's your mom.
Yeah.
That's the thing of the day for your mom. She's so sweet. She's like, just don't get caught. Da. This is crazy. So check it out. It is available on Netflix now.
It is really well done. It's good. It's interesting.
It's actually really interesting. I had no idea all this was happening. Like, he's crazed.
I knew a lot of it because I'd heard like clips on different shows and stuff, but I didn't know this much of it.
Mm-mm.
I knew there was a murder thing. I knew he was a nut. I knew he lived on a boat, but I didn't know
there's a lot.
The rest of this crap was going on.
Anyways, all right.
And the final thing, the final interview moment.
We don't know.
Yeah, the final interview moment. We're not going to spoil it, but the final interview moment makes you go,
"What? What?" And you're like, "Okay, so
and you're just left.
Where does that leave us now?"
And you can go look up the internet information to see where it left us, and it's left you nowhere because nobody knows.
Left you hanging.
So there might be a part 2 at some point.
It's leaving us hanging. All right, moving on to the next film. Tell me about this movie, Alienoid, which looked crazy when I saw the trailer.
It's about this pizza, this little thing in red uniform that hates pizza.
No, not the Noid.
Oh, Alienoid, not the Noid. Oh, sorry.
And then only if you're probably like 40 years old will you get that joke.
That's right. That's just like flaunting my elderliness.
Mm-hmm.
Alienoid is a Asian mashup film that's part sci-fi, part martial arts. So it's half of the film is the wuxia or wuxia, depending on how you just pronounce it, which is the martial hero films like Hero and things like this, where you have the period piece martial arts kung fu type flicks, and then you have the sci-fi action flick, and they're into the same film.
Correct.
So the premise, I'm going to read the premise because
it was a little confusing because it's also time travel-y, I thought.
It's very time travel. There's a lot happening.
There's a lot going on.
And this is part 1.
Oh, okay, cool.
So it basically says the two Goryeo dynasty gurus, it's 1918 to 1392, or excuse me, 918 to 1392, seeking a legendary time-bending blade as they unexpected cross paths with modern-era people hunting down a dangerous alien concealed inside a human's body.
Okay.
So basically,
that makes sense.
It's almost like a time cop kind of thing.
Yeah,
where
they're trying to cut
these alien things are going through, and so like the opening of the film it's the old dynasty type period, not the soap opera dynasty, but they're in this Goryeo dynasty, and things are happening. All of a sudden, people are pulling out guns and shooting at each other, and it's like, wait, what? And so I will tell you this: yes, it's a bit all over the place. It can get confusing, but it is still well handled. It's almost 2.5 hours long. It is part 1. There were 2 films shot simultaneously.
Okay,
then so it does end on a cliffhanger, which is frustrating. More so here because, one, if I hadn't told you and you hadn't go research, there's nothing about this that would tell you that it's a cliffhanger. It doesn't say to be continued. It doesn't say Alienoid will return, and any of that kind of stuff. It just kind of ends. You're like,
then there has to be another.
Thankfully, I researched it prior to watching it.
Okay,
and they shot 2 parts at the same time, and the other part's supposed to be released next year. It's well handled, both sides. It does, and this is kind of par for the course of time travel, is it does lose a little bit sometimes when you don't, like right as you really get sucked into this one time period, you get thrown into the other. And so it's a lot of back and forth, even though it does spend time in each thing. It's not rushed. Being 2.5 hours, it wasn't rushed by any means. But it's like you want a little bit more of this than you want this. Because I wrote in the review, there's something really cool about watching like a period piece kung fu movie, and then they pull out a Glock and start shooting samurais and stuff, and you're like, that's not supposed to be okay. And then the people acting like, she's shooting thunder, and they think it's magic.
But there's a lot they handle that part.
But there's a lot of magic users too, so it's not, it's wire work, and some of that is kind of cool. The CGI is kind of hit and miss. Some of it's very much more video game look than realistic, but it kind of seems par for the course for a lot of Asian cinema.
Yeah.
You know, when you watch which you would think they would have way better CGI stuff than us, but a lot of these movies tend to come off that they look computer generated. They don't always look.
I think that's a vibe though there.
It is. I don't think it's a thing that was cheap or whatever, because there's a lot of
the vibe that they like.
There's a lot of big effects in this movie, and especially when there's one moment when the two aliens are fighting at present day that's really cool to watch. It's just it looks like more video game type characters than real life stuff. But I actually enjoyed the movie. I thought it was fun. It's crazy. It's chaotic. Like I said, it is all over the place. It's one of those that you're just like, okay, you need to stop now. You're making my head hurt. You know, trying to keep track of the places and the people discovering things and the different characters and who's in what time period now, because there's 2 or 3 characters that actually bounce between the two. And then there's the characters that stay there that you're dealing with both. And so, but I had fun with it. And it won't be for everyone. Some people will be like, I hate the name of the movie. Alienoid is just stupid. I don't know who came up with that. And
it's because if the alien's inside a person.
I know, it just sounds stupid.
It makes sense.
There could have been, there's got to be a cooler name. So if it comes out as Alienoid 2, I'm just going to be irritated.
Oh, Lord.
But now I'm annoyed because I want to see the next one. And with these kind of movies, if this doesn't do well, they may not get a U.S. release. Thankfully, it's Well Go USA putting it out, so they probably bought the rights to both at the same time.
That's cool.
And so hopefully
we'll get it.
Hopefully they'll get some. But right now, this is actually in limited release theaters. So if you can, you find some things like the Angelicas or the Mockingbirds, not Mockingbird, Alamo Draft Houses, and I forgot that other one.
The ones that carry more independent.
Yeah, independent and foreign films. This is probably where you're going to find it. You might find it at some AMC's and Cinemark. Sometimes they have a random thing or a Fathom event or something like this. But this one opened this past Friday in theaters. So check it out. Decide for yourself if you like the two genres and you want to see something that's just kind of different.
There you go.
It's fun. It's wacky. It's crazy. You'll love it or you'll hate it. It's hard to.
I think you'll like it.
Yeah.
It seemed fun.
It is. It's crazy.
All right. Moving on to the next movie. Oh my gosh, guys, I can't even. This made me so upset and angry. Sad. This movie is called Breaking. Not Breaking 1 and Breaking 2.
Not Electric Boogaloo?
No, there's no breakdancing in this. This is the new film starring John Boyega, and it's called Breaking. And gosh, how do I want to explain it? So it's a man who is a veteran, and suddenly his checks stop arriving. So he goes to the VA and finds out that they've redirected his payments to pay for student loans that he didn't even owe. But due to some sort of a system thing.
I don't think it's ever fully decided if he owed him or not.
He said he had paid it off.
He paid him. The issue was that they were just taking his money without basically having a conversation about, hey, if you don't pay this, we're going to have to take this money. It's kind of like a child support thing. If you don't pay your child support, they garnish your wage and pay it. And then you're like, and they don't tell you. Like, I never had to do that, thankfully, but I paid my child support, okay? Before you don't start asking.
Actually, I paid your child support.
Before you came along, woman, I paid it myself. Thank you very much.
I know.
I still paid it myself. Fool. Like you did everything in life. But yeah, it's kind of a garnished wage kind of thing. But there was an argument in that kind of puts him in, and it's one of those things that I think there's been tons of movies like this, like Dog Day Afternoon, things like this. But there's something way sadder when people are put in a situation like this and it's out of desperation. It's not out of greed.
Correct. So what happens in the film is he basically goes into a bank and he's like, I'm going to rob the bank. But he's not. He just wants the VA to pay him the money they owe him. That's all he's asking for. And once you get into the film and you really see what it's about, this is so upsetting and heartbreaking. It really is. And, he tells them, I don't want to hurt anyone. I'm not angry with y'all. I just want someone here that can help me get my money back.
This is the most polite bank robbery I have ever seen.
Yep.
And it kind of makes it stand out as unique. Boyega is excellent in the film.
He's so good, guys.
It's a very subtle performance. He never loses his cool. He never starts screaming at people. Even when he gets mad, it's not more than just kind of a raised voice, typically.
Correct.
But he's very polite to the people that he's holding hostage. He's like, I'm very sorry, I'm sorry I've messed up your day. You know, it's
Yeah.
like you're like, what is the deal, man? Why, if you're so sorry, let him go. Why is this important? You know,
But
and
it was very important to him that they were robbing him. They were stealing his money for something that he didn't feel he owed.
and also for what he's really trying to get outside of
That's the most heartbreaking
yeah,
thing,
when it's
guys.
revealed on what he wants and the reasoning behind everything, you know, we told you kind of the main reasoning, but when you really get the full explanation of what he wants, it makes you even further feel his desperation. As this isn't greed, this isn't um, somebody who's just trying to get something for nothing. He just wants what he's owed. He just wants to people to know what's happening, you know, that kind of thing. And then it makes you like, you did all this for that.
Yeah.
You
Now,
know?
here's the thing that I didn't mention. This is a true story.
Yes.
This is based on a true story. This happened in 2017, so not that many years ago. And the other thing that was very upsetting to me is he's in there with the bank manager, and she's like, "Oh, don't worry. You know, when the cops come, it's going to be okay. You know, you can just let us go because they're just going to arrest you."
Well, because she said he asked if they'd ever been robbed before.
Yes.
And she goes, "Yes, we were ever."
And the guy was arrested.
And he goes, "Did they arrest him or did they shoot him?" And she's like, "He was arrested."
And he does ask, "Was he black or was he white?" He was white. And he's like, "Well, that's not going to happen. I know they're going to shoot me." That's why he's like, "Close all the windows, do everything. They're going to shoot me."
And and I don't know if this was how the real story was, but it was also interesting that the people he was holding with him were also people of color. So it was entire
correct.
And the negotiator he dealt with was a person of color.
Correct.
So everybody
understood
involved that were really trying to make a difference were people of color, right, except for the person not of color, which technically they are of color because they're white people. But the couple of white people that are kind of and I'm not saying this like saying this is coming off as a race thing because it's not about race in this movie, but there's a discussion of it. But that's not what this is. This is about the mistreatment of veterans and their pensions and things like this and how it's handled. But there's that underscoring metaphorical story arc of the unevenness of how people of color are treated in comparison to people that are not of color for doing the same thing.
Correct.
And we see things like that in news all the time, especially when news reports, you know, if it talks about, like if we were both arrested, right? Yeah. And there's a news story about it, it'd be like, you know, popular martial arts, beloved martial arts star arrested for such and such. I mean, a martial arts teacher arrested for such and such. Then for you, it would be saying, you know, troubled Hispanic office worker, you know, because they describe it, you know, how they'll take your issues.
Take it, and they're gonna find like the ugliest photo of me.
Yeah, and they're gonna have a picture of me like
in your uniform.
Yeah,
like,
be all nice. Like, oh,
with like kids around you.
I'll look official and pretty. You'll look like you're dirty or cleaning or something, you know. And that's people say that doesn't happen, but you go.
It does.
Just go read any news article. If it's about a person of color, they will point out their crimes or their faults.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're innocent, but they'll say, man, you know, black man murder such and such.
Yeah.
But if it's a white person, it'll be like Jim Smith, father of 2, forced into murders or something like that, you know.
Yeah, it's just
the narrative is just messed up, intentional or unintentional. That's how it is.
And then this, once you get through the end of the movie and everything, how it unfolds and everything, and you kind of see that as it's the secondary story, but it is kind of what we thought it would be, which is sad. And yeah, the whole movie just got me so upset. And I went and read about the real guy and you know what happened and what he was doing and all that, and it just threw me into a spiral of anger.
It makes it worse because by the time the end of when you see how it all played out after the fact,
yes,
the people involved, what he was trying to accomplish, what he wanted to do, and how it ends.
Yes.
Not just a movie, but with the descriptive stuff of the real life stuff after the fact, it makes it worse.
Yep.
We can't really tell you some of it because then it would spoil the movie, and you don't.
But you know, I'm gonna also post a link to this thing, the Hollywood versus Facts, so you can read the real story later. I'll mark it as a spoiler link. Okay, so anyways, it's actually a really good movie. It's very dramatic, it's very emotional, and he's great. I mean, what else? I mean, what do you expect? He's John Boyega.
It also got the late great Michael K. Williams. I'm assuming it's one of his final roles. He's not given a ton to do, but he's good in the little
poor
bit of
thing.
time he
He's
has.
just so cool. What happened with him?
He had a drug overdose.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Because he's just so cool.
And I don't remember if it was one of those accidental overdoses, or I don't think it was a suicidal thing. I think it was an accidental overdose. And I don't remember the full story. I have to go look it up.
That's just too bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so I posted a link to our review and also a link if you want to see the real life story. I did mark it as a spoiler, so check it out though.
And it's in theaters now.
Yeah. All right. Next, do you want to go here or here?
The other one.
Okay, I'm just going to go through it.
This next one I've been super stoked for.
You've been waiting.
I've been following the announcement to the making of this movie for a few years now, because I think it was started filming during 2020 or maybe 2019. I remember when they announced the movie is called Samaritan. It is a superhero-esque flick starring Sylvester Stallone. And I remember when they announced Stallone is going to play in a superhero movie as a Samaritan. And, this isn't his first foray into the superhero genre. He was the original Judge Dredd.
Mm-hmm.
He showed up as one of the original Guardians of the Galaxy in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. So he's, you can almost say that Rambo and Rocky were kind of superhero-like. But, he's kind of Demolition Man. I guess you can kind of almost be a superhero-like movie, but he's dipped his toes in those things. But this time around, he was going to play an actual superhero-type character.
Correct.
But this time, the story is about there was these two characters, Samaritan and Nemesis, that were brothers.
Yes,
I believe.
brothers.
One was good, one was bad. They disappeared years after a conflict or whatever, and now we jump all these years later, and there's a kid who's obsessed. The city knows about him, and there's a bad guy who's obsessed with Nemesis, and there's this kid that's obsessed with Samaritan, and they think Stallone is one of them. They think he's Samaritan. They think he's like
he's back.
Samaritan disappeared, Nemesis died.
Correct.
And they found his mask and his hammers and all this stuff, and so they knew Nemesis died. So this other guy's trying to take up the mantle of Nemesis, and this kid thinks Samaritan is Stallone. And of course, if you see the trailers, you know that he's something because he's throwing people around and whatever. But they've been waiting for this to come out. I kept seeing stills. We didn't get to see a trailer. They finally dropped a trailer. Then they announced it was going to be a Prime Video movie exclusively instead of theatrical, which I think was a good idea because I don't know how well this one, as popular Stallone is, I don't know that this would really be a big draw at the theater, although it should be because it is an excellent movie.
Correct.
But I think a Prime Video release was a smart move for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But before I get into details, what did you think?
I really enjoyed it. I was just like, oh, okay, cool. I love Sylvester Stallone, but I'm also a Rocky fan. So in my mind, that's who he is. And I know he's done way more than that.
See, and I'm more on the Rambo side.
Oh, that's true. You are Rambo.
I love all things Stallone as well.
Correct.
But as much as I love Rocky, I'm more Rambo.
Yeah, see, and I'm more Rocky. But he's done so many good things, and even like the expendable stuff and this thing
over the top.
I mean, so there. To me,
you also love Demolition Man.
I love Demolition Man. I mean,
he's talking about making a sequel. I don't know if it'll ever happen.
A memorable part, I think, of our upbringing, and so I agree in a way. I don't know if he's a big theater draw anymore on his own.
Well,
maybe not.
He did like a lot of those guys from our era, the muscle bound superhero type action stars.
I'm so hot. I'm
with
having
him and Schwarzenegger and Van Damme and Dolph
during
Lundgren
that time period, that was
everybody had big muscles, toxic masculinity and machismo.
Yeah. But you know what? I like what he's been doing as he's gotten older. Like even in the last few Creed films, like you see like an older, weaker version of Rocky.
Playing his age.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Everything changes. Everybody, eventually you get older. And so I love that. And I love him in this because he's not doing a bunch of like crazy action. He's fighting, but he's fighting like he would now, I think. But he's still I do not want to get hit by him. Anyway.
Yeah, his fighting here, it also, despite his age, works because of the invulnerability power-esque element of the character. So he also doesn't have to be like, how is this 70-something-year-old man getting beat up and still walking? It's because he has power. So
But and I
it
like
helps
that
to
it's
sell
not
it.
pretty. It's gritty. The movie's
It's very
dark.
violent,
It's rainy and gray, and I like it. And I feel like the bright moments, if you notice, is when the kid's there talking. He's like, "Oh my God, you're Samaritan!" He's so excited. Like it like kind of clears up. And then when you're in his and with the bad guys, it's all gray and dark. And I like that contrast.
Well, I like to, instead of talking about his age, there's a line that's in the trailer too, I believe, where they talk about how strong he is and this and that, and he's telling the kid, he goes, "Not near as strong as I used to be." He goes, when you stop caring, you start getting a little bit weaker, and I stopped caring a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of
It's
the
very
metaphor of
interesting.
I'm getting older, and so I'm not as powerful. But this is because I stopped trying. I stopped trying to protect him. I stopped training. I stopped doing anything. And so while I still probably way stronger than the next guy next to me, I'm not trying to be about that anymore.
Yeah.
And this movie had kind of a vibe of the Karate Kid and Last Action Hero in relation to their relationship, because the majority of this movie is the relationship between the little boy and Stallone.
Correct.
And them kind of back and forth, and there's kind of a big brother / father figure mentality happening, because the boy's not a great kid. He keeps getting into trouble, and it's not like he's an innocent kid getting thrown into stuff.
Yeah.
He makes bad decisions sometimes, and he's trying to make he makes bad decisions for good reasons.
Correct.
But he's still not an innocent, if you will. But when Stallone gets involved, obviously we all know things are going to go off the rails. There's some elements that are kind of silly at times. I do like that it's not an over-the-top, end-of-the-world superhero
Over the
like
top.
what I did there. Supervillain trying to take over the world thing. It's a little smaller but big for just the city they're in. And even the vibe of the villain's idea behind it is kind of dumb. But there are people that are really obsessed with it. Even that almost felt to me like a metaphor for like the people that have blindly follow somebody, whether it's a politician
and I like
or whatever.
that they went, because there's this one thing where there's like, oh no, let's bring the bad guy back, whatever. And so it's like a mob mentality, and it's like, we're gonna make the city pay. And so they start breaking and looting, and I'm like, how does that make it any better for anyone?
It makes it worse.
It's just that whole mentality of there's someone to follow when people feel lost, or in these times where like you're stuck at home or you're depressed or you feel defeated. It's like, oh, we have a mission now, which is not always a great thing.
They feel like they have a purpose.
Yes. So I like that we went into that a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting.
There's some great action though in it. It's got a nice tight runtime. I think it's only like an hour and a half or so.
It's really good.
Stallone never takes his shirt off, so it's not a big muscle machismo thing.
I bet he's still muscly though.
He
still works out.
He's still
right?
big. Yeah, he still works out, but he's got an older man's body, but it's kind of like Schwarzenegger.
It's still better than mine. His old man body is still better than ours.
He's still better shape than most any of us. And I also want to say,
let me go check, because
I think Stallone and Schwarzenegger have become better actors in their older age.
Oh, they really have.
Than they were younger, because I think back then they relied on one-liners, their muscles, and the action.
Yeah.
They didn't have to be good actors.
Right.
They were never, well, I don't want to say that. They were never great actors, but you look at Stallone, I think always had a little more of the acting ability than Schwarzenegger had.
Yes.
Because he was already a writer and doing stuff. But I think, like you said, with the Creed movies, he really got back into that acting element from the Rocky days. And a movie like this, this is a character film. This isn't an action flick. There's plenty of action, but this is a character-driven story.
Correct.
And Stallone has a lot to do and say, and emotions and things like this, but he's also whoops a lot of ass.
He does. I mean, it's a really good movie. I think it's a well-rounded film.
It's going to probably end up on my favorite of the year, one of my favorites of the year, but not because it's better than a lot of the movies, but it's because I like me some Stallone and some old school action, and it's a movie I waited for, and it just works. And there's some really fun plot twists that you're just like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's a really good movie. Yeah. It really is.
It's not as straightforward as you might think it is.
No, and it's not just like
it'd be interesting if they because this could be a franchise of sorts.
Yeah.
I hope it's not. I hope it's a one and done, because I think it's a good solid piece by itself.
Yeah.
I hope they don't try to force capitalize on it, but
that's okay.
Who knows? We'll see.
Anyways, check it out. It's available on Prime Video.
And we are getting Expendables 4, in case you didn't know.
Oh,
it's already been shot.
Oh,
but I've heard rumors.
What's the cast this time? Or do we know?
I think it's most of the same people.
Because they mix it up.
But I think this one is going to be kind of the passing the torch from Stallone to Statham. Whereas, you know, they were always the two main.
Yes.
And I believe Stallone's not in this one as much.
Look at his old man body still looking good.
That's a while back, but
I still had to go look at it.
Because I think the new one's like Expendable 4 Christmas holiday or something. Because, you know, remember the guy's name is like Lloyd Christmas or not Lloyd Christmas.
Yes.
Anyway, so I think what they're doing is they're passing it on so that they might be able to continue the franchise, but without Stallone. Because, you know, he's getting up there. He probably can't do as much action as he wanted to, you know, and so but he's already shot it. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Also, in his older age, I like that he got all the tattoos.
Yeah.
He didn't have them when he was younger. He waited until he got older.
Look at this old man muscle.
That was still a little while back, too, but yeah.
I mean, he still's going to look better than us right now.
I know.
Lord. I got the table muscle.
Anyway, Samaritan is available now on Prime Video, and it is awesome.
Go check it out.
I loved it.
All right, let's move on to our last movie.
It might have been my favorite movie that we watched this week.
I agree. It's up there. This one was good, though, too. I had a lot of fun with this movie. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did.
Really?
This is the new Netflix movie, Me Time. Well, here's my thing. You know, I have a love-hate relationship with Marky Mark.
Yes.
And I like everything Kevin Hart does. I just know sometimes it's a little over the top,
right?
Especially when it's a comedy. But now putting the two of them together is like way over the top and crazy, but you just have to go with it.
And here's what I want to give props to Mark Wahlberg, because if you watch him in interviews, and as a matter of fact, if you watch him in the Heart to Heart interview with him and Kevin Hart, you watched that one, right?
I did.
Okay. He's a very serious guy all the time.
Correct.
You know,
he needs to stop that.
And
just be happy.
It drove her nuts because she loved him, had no issues with him until we watched Wahlburgers. And then all she was seeing was business Mark Wahlberg, not actor Mark Wahlberg.
He's such a jerk.
And he's not a jerk. He's a businessman.
Businessman.
But
I know.
What I like about that is the fact that because he's who he is, when he steps on the screen in a movie like this, he has the ability to not take himself seriously.
Correct.
Like in
Which
Ted,
I love.
And him and Kevin Hart are so alike in the real world, where they're business moguls. They're serious about their business. You know, they're punctual. They take everything seriously. Everything they do there's purpose. And I think that's why they have great chemistry in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is this movie about?
Okay, so this movie is about Kevin Hart's character is kind of the stay-at-home dad. He makes sure the kids are okay, takes care of the house, kind of like my baby right here. And the wife takes the kids away for the holiday or wherever they're going. I don't know what holiday. They're going to see the family for something.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a holiday.
I don't know. So she's like, you stay home and have some me time. So that's where this. So he's like, okay, I'm going to just stay home and do nothing. And he ends up deciding to go see his friend Mark Wahlberg for
his lifelong friend that he avoids now because he's kind of crazy
for his birthday party. And craziness does ensue. You see in the trailer, like they have this whole desert party. The part where Kevin Hart gets attacked by the mountain lion. I mean, you see it in the trailer, but I mean, these kinds of crazy things just continue to happen, and it gets bigger and bigger and crazier, and people show up, and you're just like, what? So it's about that. So did you identify with this in any way? Do you ever feel like you need me time? Because you do have to take care of everything here.
Are you circling this back to making me a stay-home husband?
You are.
I work, woman.
I know you do, but
I'm not actually a stay. I do. Okay, so here's the thing. I am and I'm not. I basically take care of most stuff of the house because this woman works a lot of hours. She works from home, so some of these things are about to change. We're about to have a renegotiation of our home contract. But she works from home, and one of the agreements we had was when she started. Originally, this agreement we had when we moved into this house, she had to start going into an office. So I was like, you know what? I will take care of the house. I want you to be able to come home and not worry about things. I didn't know she wasn't going to do nothing. But anyway, but I have a job that's flexible, unlike she has a normal business job.
Have hours.
Which means she has to be at her desk and work. She works a certain amount of time. Then she has another job that she works at and helps out with. And then she has her other responsibilities with church and things like this. I have things where I go teach classes and I'm back home. And then my website stuff and my art jobs are kind of at my leisure and working. And, so I have the ability to stay up super late. I have to be able to do things. So we work that out. That's why I don't have the need for me time, because I have me time.
Okay, good.
I have me time, whether it's, middle of the night after you've gone to bed and I'm up until 2 or 3 in the morning.
Correct.
My me time is drawing, doing whatever I want, being in the gym, doing my thing. We also aren't attached at the hip.
Correct.
So unlike some people that we do know,
I just don't get that, y'all.
We purposely do things without each other on sometimes because we need time for ourselves. You know, I probably do more than she does because she doesn't like doing anything really. Not like not doing anything, but she doesn't really have a lot of things that you want to go
I go
do.
get my nails done or I buy shoes.
Yeah, or you want to take a nap. That's your.
I love napping.
That's her me time stuff. My me time stuff may be
go to a comic book store.
Yeah, running around or doing something. I don't know. But then at the other time, I don't want to do nothing. And I want to stay at home. So
that's the thing. That you're a conundrum because you really don't like going out because there's people out there. It's too people-y.
But all my life and job is all people.
It's people. That's probably why. I'm sorry. I make you.
I think I'm tired of people by the time I get home for the day.
I know.
And I deal with a wide assortment of ages and types of people every day.
I do too, but most of mine are in other cities and countries, so it's not.
Yeah, but you deal with a lot.
They're
of
all online.
You deal with a lot of the same people every day.
Correct.
I deal with a lot of the same people, but there's always.
You just never know.
Yeah, and there's new people that show up because I teach classes, so it's like like my classes. I'm dealing with people that range from 4-year-olds to 80-something years old, and I teach other classes which everybody is 65 to 90-something. You know, and I'm just like, oh, kill me now. So we're talking about me time.
Wow, I was just asking if you feel like you have me time.
I have me time.
Anyways,
yes.
Okay, was the movie too over the top for you?
It was not. I thought it was exactly the kind of comedy that I expected for this kind of thing. It didn't connect for some reason, so you have to go to the bottom. I was surprised how toned down Kevin Hart was in this time around, where he was kind of the straight man. Mark Wahlberg was the crazy person.
Yeah.
You know, Kevin Hart is forced to be his normal Kevin Hardy because of Mark Wahlberg,
correct,
not because he's crazy stuff. But I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was fun.
So fun, guys. There's so much happening, and I mean, I don't think we could even spoil it, but it's just crazy, over the top fun. Get your popcorn, get your family, get on that couch and watch you some Netflix.
It's not anything different than you haven't seen before.
No, it's not groundbreaking. It's just fun.
No, it's just mindless, chaotic comedy.
So fun.
This is the kind of comedies though that I assumed would have stressed you. But maybe because they weren't destroying their own home, it didn't bother you as much.
Correct. They were destroying the world.
Yeah, if you're bothering stuff in your own house, she goes crazy.
Yes, Cat in the Hat. I can't. If you Cat in the Hat something, no, I can't.
She gets so crazy. It's hilarious watching her get all fidgety.
And even when we're in the Cat in the Hat ride at Disney, I'm like, I can't wait to get to the end when everything's back together.
That's at Universal.
So whatever. Okay, Universal. We're riding the little thing and it's going crazy. I'm like, oh, let's get to the end. And then we spin around and we're like, woo, the house is back together. Like, successful ride.
I love that ride.
I do too, but oh gosh. Anyways, this is a great fun movie, and you
should. The Universal Cat in the Hat ride drives you crazy.
I don't think I've ever told
dumbest ride
I've never told you that. I like when we get to the end and everything's back in order.
And it's the same ride as the Peter Pans and the Little Mermaids.
I hate Peter Pan.
Well, you just hate it because it's always so popular.
It's always packed or it's broken down.
And nobody knows why it's so popular.
The best is Winnie the Pooh.
It's the same ride as Cat in the Hat.
I don't care. Winnie the Pooh's the jam. That is the best ride.
That is too funny.
Anyways, we'll have to have a Disney exclusive when we go next time. Anyways, check out this new movie, Me Time, on Netflix now.
We didn't even finish talking about it. You just cut it off because you were done.
Yeah, it's great. Just go watch it.
It's funny. There's not a lot to say about it. It's just, they got great chemistry. There's some fun laughs. It is what it is. Moving on. Netflix.
All right. Next. Over to you, kind sir.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, that was it.
Oh, so we're talking. There's not a lot coming out this week. I think because we're moving into a new month.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot Blu-rays or whatever coming out. Cat people are getting the 4K treatment. For those that didn't have Paramount Plus, the Yellowstone prequel series 1883 is coming out. And so in case people wonder if it's getting a second season, just so you know, no, it's not. But
okay,
that's not because there's not a new show coming.
Oh,
it's because each one of these shows are standalones. So there's going to be another season per se, but it's going to be like 1942.
Oh, like we move forward a little in time.
The whole premise of the show is the Duttons, which is Kevin Costner and that family that the Yellowstone show's about.
Yes.
This is the relatives.
I gotcha.
Descendants.
So it just keeps scoping ahead a little, maybe.
Yeah. So in this show, hold on, let me pull up because I always forget their names. Crap. I just went blank. Hold on. Tim McGraw, thank you.
Yes.
And Faith Hill are the descendants.
Yes.
They play husband and wife in the show, and they're husband and wife in real life.
What?
They play the Duttons, and they're on like a caravan kind of thing. And then you have Sam Elliott, who's kind of their guide, and they're taking these people. So it's kind of this thing on the plains, and it's telling the story of how the Duttons finally got to where they're at in the show. Their great grandfathers or whatever it is. And so the next one will be another descendants of people from the later years who grew up to do what. And I think it's going to be Harrison Ford and somebody else.
Oh, wow. That sounds good.
Yeah.
They've been married since 1996.
Yes.
Wow.
And they're great in the show together.
That's good. I'm glad for them.
They have good chemistry.
Because that doesn't happen often, that they stay married that long. So good for them.
And another thing, too, is weird is I think it's harder to have good chemistry when you're really married.
Sometimes
in a show because it comes off like fake because people try too hard.
Yeah.
Because they're like, we're married, but let's show it. And if you just act, I think it, the perspective.
Yeah.
And funny enough, they're friends with Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson. Both of them appear on the show too.
Oh, how fun is that?
They basically were like, "Hey, you want to come on the show?" I'm like, "Sure."
No, we're not. We're not doing anything.
So they have cameos in the show. Anyway, 1883 is probably the bigger thing coming out this week. If you haven't watched it, if you like Yellowstone, you should check it out. It's a great show. Everything else is just a bunch of older stuff coming out.
All right. Coming out at the theater or online. What did this thing move?
Dresses? Oh.
This thing moved on me. Hold on. Let's get to the right date.
One more day.
Coming out on Tuesday on Video Demand and Digital is this documentary called Explorer. It's about Sir Randolph Fiennes, who is considered to be the world's greatest living explorer. He has discovered new cities that nobody knew existed. He circumnavigated the earth, but not this way, my friends. He went north to South Pole. He's climbed Everest. He's kind of crazy and out there, but it's a documentary about his life. It actually looks really interesting. I'm very interested
in the next one, just by title.
I'm interested to see it. Okay, the next one also coming out on Video Demand and Digital. We will find it. It actually looks really good. It's a funny movie. It's called My Donkey, My Lover, and I.
So can I just tell you, I didn't see the end. I don't have my glass on at the moment. But I looked over. I just thought it said My Donkey, My Lover. And I'm like,
oh, it's not that.
That's a movie I want to watch.
Basically, it's the story of Antoinette, who is a school teacher who's fallen in love with the father of one of the children that she teaches, but he's married.
To a donkey.
They were supposed to go out on a little vacation, but the wife has changed the plans, and the family's going on a vacation, but since she already bought the tickets, she decides she's just going to follow that family on their vacation. So the lover is following the man around, and her companion is a donkey.
Is she following him on a donkey?
Yeah, she has a donkey that she's just...
How do you know this?
I watched the trailer because I am prepared for the show.
Wow. Is that what you were doing there when you came here? Like, I'm preparing for the show this time?
Yes.
The first time ever she prepared. It's because you're watching My Lover, My Donkey trailer.
No, I prepared.
You got to be watching.
I prepared several times.
You got to be careful, just FYI, if you're going to look up a trailer for My Lover, My Donkey. You might get some weird
My Donkey,
things.
My Lover, and I.
Either way.
Anyways.
You type those words in together, you might
those
get
are the two
stuff.
movies for Tuesday. Wednesday, dropping on Disney Plus, the new series Andor, following Cassian Andor's journey in space.
Spinning off of it's the prequel to Star Wars Rogue One, and it is also the longest episode series.
Oh, really?
And it's already got a season 2. The plan for it, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's just going to be 2 seasons, and the 2 seasons will lead directly into Rogue One. And K2SO is not in the first season. They said they'll be showing up in the second season.
Okay, because we're
see how
earlier, right in time.
Yeah, so I think we'll see how he gets into the rebellion. So right now, with that being said, Rogue One is back in theaters. So anybody that wants to see it in theaters again, I'm having a hard time. I really want to go see it in the theater.
Okay, let's go.
Mostly because there's only like 2 showings a day. It's like 1 something and 8 something.
Okay.
And so it's becoming harder to go. It's like at 8:45.
Okay.
But I really want to go, but it's hard to justify going because not only is it on Disney Plus, I own it, and I saw it 6 times in the theater when it came out the first time.
And we could just drop our theater screen and watch it.
The only thing it's keeping me mildly wanting to go is
they're giving a poster,
they're
right?
giving a poster for the series, but we have a plan that I might try to do and see if I can get a poster.
Okay.
And then don't have to go sit at the theater with those people.
Okay.
So it's a stupid argument because it's not like the original Star Wars being brought back to theaters and going, ooh, it's a movie that I saw just a few years ago.
You did see it 6 times.
Every Star Wars movie that has come out since Force Awakens, I saw 6 to 7 times in the theater.
I probably saw 3 or 4.
I went and saw them 6
Because
to
the
7
first
times.
time was just to see it. The second time was me taking notes. And the third time was me enjoying it.
Well, I think mine.
I'm that person.
I think Rogue One was the first one. I don't think I got a screening for Force Awakens. I think Rogue One was the first one I finally started getting press screenings for that because they were being very secretive at the time. And so I had, but it was no guests. So I saw all of them prior.
Yeah.
Me and you always had midnight whatever tickets.
Midnight Thursday.
To go see it. And then
we'd go.
A few of them were doing
Saturday.
posters every Sunday at AMC.
True.
So I was going back every Sunday morning. This is before times when they had showings at like 10 a.m.
Yeah, they don't do that anymore.
I was going every Sunday to watch it again.
Yeah.
Get all my posters and giveaways. And anyway.
It's a whole ordeal with this
What
family.
else we got?
Okay, coming out on Thursday, this is a special Fathom event. It may be near you. It's a one-day only. And it's called Kathy Lee Gifford presents... Gifford, thank you. Kathy Lee Gifford presents The Way. It is a dramatized Bible story, including narration, acting, and music. So if you're interested, it actually looks pretty good. I'll probably wait for it to drop on video or TV somewhere. But if you're interested and it's near you, it's a special Fathom event on Thursday. Also on Thursday, the new Netflix romantic comedy of the week, Love in the Villa, starring Kat Graham, who many of you will remember from Vampire Diaries, and Tom Hopper, which you may know from Black Sails or the other, what was that other TV show that everybody watched? He's this cool British dude. Anyway. It doesn't matter. They basically book a vacation and they get double booked in the same hotel or Airbnb or whatever. And then I'm going to assume romance ensues. Okay. Coming out on Friday, live in theaters and also streaming on Peacock.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh, good, because I wanted to see this.
Is the movie called Honk for Jesus and Save Your Soul.
Did you watch the trailer for this?
I did.
Because the reason I asked if you saw it, because the last time we were at the theater and they showed the trailer was when we saw Nope. But you had left the theater to go get something. So you came in, it was over, and I saw the trailer come on. I had seen it before.
Think about me?
And I'm like, oh my God, I wanted her to see this trailer so bad. And we had a screening this week, and we weren't ended up going, so I'm glad it's coming to Peacock.
It is like a comedy of a couple who are running a mega church, and it looks like the pastor gets in trouble.
There's a scandal.
And the first lady, which is what they call the wife of a minister, the black men, especially in black churches, has to take care of this and just like basically she has to handhold him because he just gets into trouble.
It's what Sterling K. Brown
and Regina Hall,
okay,
and it looks hilarious.
It does. It looks
and
awesome.
It's only funny because my parents are pastors.
Yes, that makes me laugh harder.
That's why.
The Spider-Man No Way Home thing that's doing I didn't mean to interrupt you on that, but it's going back to theaters because they're doing it like a director's cut.
Oh, so I'm excited to see it. So it's in limited play, so it may be in a theater near you this week. So go check it out. Dropping on Prime Video is the new series, The Lord of the Rings of Power.
Are you going to watch it at all, or are you going to move on? Neither one of us are big Lord of the Rings fans.
I'll try it. I mean, this at least looks a little more interesting than those very boring long movies. Or maybe I just didn't get it. I don't know. It was just...
Look, I'm not...
They were long.
Yeah, I think... I've always thought they were too long.
They're pretty.
And the extended editions, good God, no. I don't hate them as much as I used to after revisiting through the different releases they sent me and stuff. But I still... They're
a little much.
And of course, I did my senior paper
but
on
I feel like
this,
since it's episodes, since it's an episodic layout, it may be more accessible to me.
I don't know. We need to look and see what time period it takes place. Is it prior or is it after?
I think
it's got to be before.
Epic drama, 1,000 years before the events of The Hobbit.
Okay, so we probably don't have to watch it. We
okay,
good. Speaking of which, before you go to the next one, also, if you haven't already checked it out, Game of Thrones fans, House of the Dragon started last week. We're Game of Thrones fans, but we were kind of over it by the time Game of Thrones ended.
I just had to finish it. I had to get through it.
Yeah, we finished it, but it was like, and it wasn't nothing to do. We're not the people that complained about the ending.
At the end, it was good.
Yeah, we're the opposite of all the people that hated the ending.
I'm fine with it.
We were like fine with it. We just wanted it to end.
Yeah.
But at least for me, I really liked the first episode of House of the Dragon.
I did too. It was
the
really
new episodes
good.
Tonight, I'm excited.
Yeah. Coming to Netflix, this looks so cute. It is a movie called Ivy and Bean. It's about these two little girls that are next door neighbors, and the parents are like, "Go be friends with her," and they're like, "Oh, she's weird," and like, "Go be friends." I don't like her, and then an unlikely friendship forms, and it is the cutest.
Are they detectives or anything? Because there's like 3 movies coming out.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, because through my press portal,
Well,
there's like Ivy and Bean and Ivy and Bean such and such and Ivy and Bean
well,
such and such.
basically, they solve mysteries and they do
So I
kind
figured
of like
Hardy
magic
Boy.
spells
Okay.
too. So it's kind
I
of
thought
like
it had to be something like that because I'm like, how many Ivy and Bean movies
well,
do we need to
and
have?
this first one of the girls is trying to help her against her mean older sister. So they
I
come
got
up
you.
with a plan and they go on a little mystery to
How do you
find
know
the
this much?
ingredients. I prepared. I watched the trailer.
You never prepared. Don't act like this is unknown.
They're on an adventure to find the ingredients to cast a spell on the mean sister.
I got you.
So it's kind of magic and fun and adventures.
I like you
and
act like you're
solving
prepared
things.
every show.
Anyways, also dropping on Peacock this week is the film Jurassic World Dominion, which I really enjoyed.
Which is weird that it's not just now hitting Peacock.
Yeah.
It's already on digital and Blu-ray.
Well, you know what? That's what they decided to do. And I think that's kind of it coming out for the week. So there's a lot to see.
All right. Giveaway. We actually have a couple of new
Let
giveaways.
me put up the giveaways on the screen. No, I was going to put the giveaways up for you.
Sorry. We have a couple of new giveaways, but we still have a few extras because I got a new shipment of some things.
Oh.
So I decided to leave a couple that I promised we're going to end. We still got copies of Baby Assassins left. But we also have the new movie Pre-Man Silent Fury that's coming out, which is an Indonesian Asian flick about a deaf father trying to protect his kids. And
this.
And then another new one we got copies of Star Trek the Motion Picture, the Director's Edition, on 4K of the original movie that's fixed to be released. They're releasing a whole new so they released, I don't remember if it was last year or beginning of this year, they released a 4-film set that was the original first 4 films on 4K. Now they're getting ready for Star Trek Day. They're releasing all 6 of the original films in a set, and they're releasing the like episode 5 and 6, I believe it is. Yeah, 5 and 6 individually on 4K, as well as this new director's cut.
That's cool.
Which I think this director's cut has been released before on DVD. I don't think it was put on Blu-ray.
So now this is 4K now too. So
yeah, this is 4K.
Nice.
And we got a couple more copies of Aquaman, King of Atlantis in. And surprisingly, I'd ended the contest, but I brought it back because I got another copy of Jurassic World Dominion in to give away. And we still have a couple more left of Green Lantern, Beware My Power. Please, let me reiterate this. You need to email me your answers. I love that people read it. I love that they comment with their answers and stuff. But if you want to win, you have to email me your answer, because
follow the directions.
It says it in the contest, but when I go through them, I just randomly pick an email. I mean, it's literally sometimes this, depending on how many entries I have, because some entries I get 3 or 4, some entries we get hundreds. And so I just randomly pick. I try to keep track of because I have some people that enter every single contest, and I try to make sure that I'm not mistakenly giving the same person the thing all the time to make it fair for people. So if I know somebody won something most recently, I'll try to kind of exclude them from the contest. But I also don't do that on purpose. So I don't want anybody to think, well, I just won, I don't enter. I don't do it like that necessarily.
Because what if no one else enters and you might get it again?
Exactly. So I want
keep going.
But there's people that have been loyal supportive of our sites. They enter every contest. They've been there from the beginning, 5-6 years ago, whatever we're at now. They were there. They're still there. They support. If you're a hardcore supporter, sometimes instead of extending contests, I get extra stuff. I don't even post it. I just send it to the people that have been supporting us. People that share things, and they just suddenly get a surprise in the mail. I had a guy message me the other day. He's like, "Why'd you send me this? I didn't enter this contest. Did I enter something?" I'm like, "No, but you always share it. You always enter." I thought, hey, if you have it, here you go. But if you already have it, do what you want with it.
Yeah.
Try to help people out, man. Be nice sometimes.
Yeah. There you go.
I did that with a guy the other day who bought some sketch cards. He was like,
nice.
He really wanted something else. He couldn't afford it, so I just had one sitting on my desk. He even messaged me. He goes, "I'll send you the money." I didn't send that to try to force you to pay for it. I'm just sending it to you, man. So anyway.
All right. Well, thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony. We will see you again next Sunday. Make sure you check out our website, hollywoodmatrimony.com.
Are you sure that's what it is?
I needed to take a little saliva break there. Thank you so much for watching us live on Facebook, YouTube, and now Twitter. Make sure you also go find us on Instagram at Hollywood Matrimony. Peace be with you, my friends.
I had a haircut.
You did. You look like a Viking. I love it. Okay, now you look crazy.